week. We've kind of made it, yay, for all of the teach librarians and teachers out there. We've nearly made it, and all the parents who put in so much effort with Book Week costumes. Thank you. You know, look, I love and loathe Book Week in equal measure. I mostly love it because it's such a celebration of children's literature, and I think it's so important. As I've said at a couple of the events I've spoken at this week, you know, the sports teachers always get their day. Every week at Assembly, they get to present their sporting awards from the weekend just gone. And, you know, Book Week and books only get their time to shine once a year. So as much as I find Book Week utterly exhausting, I also think, you know, we're just so lucky we have Book Week in Australia. And I was actually at a shop at Inverpilly earlier today, and the lady behind the counter was saying, has it been Book Week this week? Because I've seen all these kids when I've been driving to school dressed up as like Hermione and Harry Potter. And I was like, yes, well spotted, it has been. She said, I loved Book Week when I was a kid, and she was, you know, a millennial. So I just thought, look, people have such great memories of Book Week. So thank you to all of the parents who have indulged us teach librarians and done such a lovely job with costumes this week. I've been really, really busy this week. I've been doing events all week, and I've got one in about an hour and a half with Beck Sparrow and Frances Whiting all this week for Brisbane City Council Libraries. We're speaking at Brisbane Square Library tonight, and we're speaking at Garden City on Sunday, and we're going through the Children's Book Council shortlist, but also our favourite books for the last few months in the areas of children's and YA literature. It's really fun. The three of us absolutely love speaking together, and yeah, we have a great time. I've also spoken at quite a few schools this week and had a really, really lovely time at Holy Spirit at New Farm. So big shout out to the teachers at Holy Spirit. They were just amazing and were so involved. Principal was astonishing, and absolute thanks to my offsider Mel Kruger, who is a teach librarian as well, and she ran most of the workshops, and she is just phenomenal. You know, she's just one of those people that was born a teacher, and her workshops are great. They've been really, really well received. My dog always comes in just I close the door to lock out my children. My dog always comes in. I just do not understand. Anyway, and tomorrow night I'm off to see one of my favourite bands. They were actually Dan's probably favourite band. So whenever they are in town, I try to go and see them. This time I missed out on tickets. The tickets sold out really, really, really fast. Oh, Mel, you're online. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yes, well, you did a great job, Mel. Much better than me, really. So this time the tickets sold out before I could get my hot little hands on some tickets. So I had to drive to the other side of town, thanks to Melissa Stapleton, who found me some tickets on Gumtree. I drove all the way to the other side of town to pick up tickets for my favourite band. They were actually Dan's favourite band, but, you know, now they're my favourite band. And I'm taking my little brother along, who is, you know, I think he's a millennial cusper. Let's see if you can guess who I'm going to see. All my people in the front, in the nosebleed. I just actually got into trouble at school pickup because my 11-year-old was mortified that I was blasting this song out in the school drive-through. Anyone know it yet? I'm so excited. So excited. Language warning. Should have done a language warning. None of you know? Oh, come on. Come on, Mel. Somebody write it there. Jeez. I'm going to see Hilltop Woods. I'm very excited. I see them every single time they're in Brisbane, and I just adore them. If Mel Scroggy was on here, she would have known who it was. All right. 5 on Friday. Back to books. Enough of music. Enough of me rambling on about the joys of Book Week. Up first, I'm going to start and finish with a non-fiction book today. The Dictionary of Difficult Words is one that the art teacher put me onto. Our art teacher at school spends pretty much my entire library budget. Ms. Mansa, if you're listening, she's forever getting me to purchase art books. She sends me emails at all hours of the day and night saying, oh my gosh, I've just seen this really great book. And I'm happy to indulge this because I'm just so pleased that she uses books for the starting point of nearly everything that she teaches, and her book collection in the art room is just divine. But I do think Mrs. Morris and Miss Olive, our library assistants, do wonder about the amount of art books one art teacher can possibly use. Anyway, she put me onto this one. She found this one at Goma, the Gallery of Modern Art in Brisbane, and it is fantastic. So I had to buy it for school and for my own girls as well. It's really, really gorgeous. It's beautifully designed, of course, as most art books are, with really beautiful end papers. And basically what it is about 400, I think it's about 400 words, which are just really difficult, amusing, kind of interesting words to share with children. And I've been using this in every class in the last few weeks, and just before I read them, whatever story we're reading, I've read them a few words from this book. Here we've got bedazzled. Isn't bedazzled a great word? When you are bedazzled by something, you are so impressed by it that you don't notice the bad things about it. I am bedazzled by Book Week. So impressed by the good things that I don't notice the bad much. It's got really interesting words. Bespeckled, bibliophile. It's just got excellent, excellent words in it, really beautiful illustrations. It's obviously a gorgeous coffee table book. And it also explains at the beginning, I remember reading this to the kindy kids. A dictionary is a collection of words and their meanings. Sometimes dictionaries are books you can hold, like this book, and sometimes they are digital. I liked that it explained what a dictionary was and also how to use a dictionary, and that you don't need to read it from A to Z or start to finish. You can read it in whatever order you want. It's just a really interesting book. I like books which you can pick up and put down as you choose. This is a sort of book I at home would have on my, and do have, on my coffee table or our breakfast table where we eat breakfast. And at school, this is the sort of book that I think is a nice one to introduce a lesson. Vortex. Volcanologist. We've really enjoyed it. Anyway, we've absolutely loved this one at school. I love that it's a nice big hardcover one, very giftable. And yeah, thank you to Mrs. Manser for that recommendation. Next up, I want to share with you Lemonade Jones. Now, I would just run around the whole house looking for the first Lemonade Jones because I was going to talk about both of them. There is 2 Lemonade Jones books. This is the new one, Lemonade Jones and The Great School Fate. And actually, Mel, if you're still online, I was going to talk about this one really for your benefit. The delightful Mel Kruger, along with Joe, have just done the sweet stall at their primary school, and I think Mel and Joe have cut up and packaged up more fudge than anybody needs to in their lifetime, and I know that Mel is doing the same again for the school she works at this weekend. So I thought this would be a good one to talk about. Lemonade Jones is by Davina Bell and Karen Blair, both of whom I adore. Everything Davina Bell writes I grab and purchase in multiple copies because I know it will be authentic, it will be full of heart, it will be funny, it will have child appeal, it will have parent appeal. She just nails it every single time. There is not a single Davina Bell book that has been written that I haven't just gone, oh, it's like a warm, going to say hug, but I don't like hugs. It's just beautiful. It's like, I don't know, gooey fudge. It's beautiful. Gooey caramel. Her books are gorgeous. And Karen Blair is an illustrator I really love. Karen Blair's just done a new book with dogs in it, which I'm really, really loving. When Billy Was a Dog, that's right, which is written by Kirsty Murray, and I have absolutely loved that. And I noticed in this book, Karen, if you're listening later, that there's a lot of dogs. And I love a good person. I love a person who can illustrate good dogs. I'm very, very critical of dog illustrations in books, and I just like to say that you've nailed it. The dogs have got such personality and are beautiful. So Lemonade Jones is aimed at people from about maybe 5 to 7 or 8. So my 8-year-old still really loves Lemonade Jones, but likewise my little neighbour who is 5 and who's in New Zealand at the moment, I will be giving this one to her as soon as she gets back from New Zealand, because I read her the first Lemonade Jones and she just loved it. And my little neighbour Violet is a bit like Lemonade Jones. Lemonade Jones is feisty. She's a little bit unusual, and she's just, I don't know, she's a cool chick at 5 years old, or however old she is. She's in grade 1. In this book, Lemonade Jones and her class are thinking about the school fate. And she has her hand up so high that it felt like she could tickle the clouds. I love that sentence. And they're deciding on what's going to be at the school fate. And Principal Cheese has just asked if anybody's mum could be the lead singer of the Year 1 Mum Band. The band would be the final act on stage before the fete closed. No rehearsals necessary, said Principal Cheese. They can just show up on the day and have a quick run through. I'll send home a note. Anyway, Lemonade basically volunteers her mum. She dreams about her mum maybe being a little bit of a singing star, even though she's never actually heard her mum singing. So she's not sure if her mum does sing, but she thinks she'd make a good rock star. And then at the end of that, when it's all decided who's going to be in the Year One Mums band, Principal Cheese says, that's the Year One Mum band sorted. Now, does anyone's dad know how to make flower crowns? And I love that the dads you see throughout later in the book, the dads are running the flower crown stall, which I just think is adorable. Anyway, so Lemonade Jones is picked up, and you can see how horrified does Mum look. Karen Blair really nailed that illustration. It's my favourite. That look on Mum's face is just like, no, I can't be in the Year One Mum band. It's just beautiful. It's so funny. And Lemonade Jones says, you always say I should try new things, says Lemonade Jones, like kale chips. Singing on stage is not the same as eating kale chips, said Mum. It is much more exciting, said Lemonade Jones. And remember, the school fete is to raise money for the new library. So, of course, what can Mum say? She's going to have to do it. It's really funny. And like I said, what I really like with Davina Bell, particularly with her read alouds, I feel like she puts some humour in there for the parents that are reading along with their children. This is a great book to read aloud. Oh, look at Lemonade Jones doing that. I think it's the pony prance on the stage. I just love the humour and the warmth in any book by Davina Bell. And Karen Blair has just added this gorgeous warmth as well. I love this final illustration with the family walking home from the fete. Little heads up, Mum's singing debut was a bit of a disaster. Anyway, Mum did well. Lemonade Jones saved her. The pigeon has to go to school. Words and Pictures by Mo Willems. Now, I mean, look, why I'm even talking about this book to advertise it is beyond my comprehension, because, I mean, Mo Willems needs absolutely no help in his books being adored. I mean, there's a page at the back here where there's pictures of the Mo Willems books, and I was looking at them earlier thinking, yep, I just love everything. I love everything Mo Willems has ever written, but this one is particularly darned brilliant. And I did see quite a few costumes of children in Book Week parades dressed up as the pigeon this week. Great end papers to start it, and they'll make sense at the end. The pigeon has to go to school. Wait, don't read that title. And the pigeon's jumping out of the title page. I love that the title page is really interactive, and that in fact Words and Pictures by Mo Willems is kind of covered up. And the dedication is to my teachers, past, present and future. Too late, rats. Why do I have to go to school? I already know everything. Go on, ask me a question. Any question. All right. Well, I know almost everything. Does school start in the morning? Because you know what I'm like in the morning. It is not pretty. Anyway, and so it goes on. It's about the pigeon who really doesn't want to go to school. He comes up with all these reasons why he is not going to go to school. His head might pop off. What will happen at school, and then it goes through what will happen at school. Actually, there's a really good illustration of all the things that will happen at school. So this is a great one for little people who might be starting school next year. I'd start reading it now, getting them used to the idea. And then at the end it says, well, how am I supposed to get there anyway? What's what? Step aside, coming through, the pigeon has to go to school. And he's very excited to be going on the school bus. And then the final end paper is the pigeon at school, sitting at his desk with all of his new friends. It's a beautiful one for starting school, but like, it's a Mo Willems book. I don't need to say anything else. It's exquisite. Okay, The Land of Roar, which I think isn't out yet, but this is one that I would highly recommend that you pre-order. The author is Jenny McLaughlin, and she normally writes young adult novels. This is her first foray into middle grade, I think. And this one is exquisite. This is everything I want in a book for my 11-year-old. In this, and I think they are 11, there's twins in this, Arthur and Rose. And when they were really little and they used to stay at their grandfather's house, they used to play this amazing game called the Land of Ruhr. And they played it for hours and days, as children do in their beautiful way, where they just slip into imaginary play and can play all day. The granddad in this book is divine. He is a bit of a party animal. He's out in his backyard playing loud music and burning a bonfire while the kids are trying to sleep. He's really cool. I really like the grandfather. But the twins, so the twins love their granddad, and they've come to stay with him again. Now they're 11. Rose is really cool now. She's got a phone. She's trying to make friends with the quite annoying next door neighbour at Granddad's house, who's a little bit older and who is quite cool. She's got a YouTube channel, and Rose really wants to mix with the cool kids. Arthur, so she's not being particularly nice to Arthur, her twin brother, these days. She doesn't want anything to do with him. But you know what's really nice about this book? Arthur's really missing her. He's really missing that closeness that they had when they were really little. And I loved, the thing I think I loved most about this book was the way it looked at sibling relationships and how they ebb and flow, and that sometimes they can be tricky and sometimes they can be really important to you, and sometimes you can love your sibling and sometimes you just want to throttle them. So it looked at sibling relationships in just all the ways that they exist. I loved it. So they're 11. Arthur and Rose are going to clean out the attic. I'll just decline that call. Arthur and Rose are cleaning out the attic this time. They're staying at Granddad's house, and they're going to create like a more teenage space for themselves in this attic, which is where they used to play the Land of Ruhr. When they're cleaning out the attic, Arthur starts to have all of these kind of feelings come back to him about the Land of Ruhr and the games they used to play, and actually how scared he used to be and some of the things that happened. And he actually in the attic finds a few things from the Land of Ruhr. He starts to wonder if the Land of Ruhr actually really existed. And Rose is just like, oh, you are such an idiot, Arthur. She is just way too cool to consider that the Land of Ruhr might actually have been real. Anyway, you can probably see where this is going. Rose takes off to play with the next door neighbour. Arthur keeps cleaning up. Arthur and Grandad actually slip inside the Land of Ruhr. An old trundle bed that's like folded in two is actually the portal into the Land of Ruhr, and they kind of accidentally slip inside the Land of Ruhr. I love it. This is an uncorrected proof. The actual cover is different. It's got a dragon coming down, and this one doesn't have, oh look, I've even made highlights in it. I don't even know why I did that. This one has illustrations that aren't quite finished, so I'm not going to give it to my 11-year-old just yet. See, an uncorrected proof, my 8-year-old loves them because she's like, artwork to come. That means this is an uncorrected proof, Mummy. It's not quite finished. There might be mistakes. But I think my 11-year-old will really deeply love this book because she's on that cusp at the moment where she's just moved her fairy door out of her room and put it in her sister's room. And you would all remember that time where you're kind of starting to think, I don't know about these fairies. I don't know about these dragons and all these imaginary friends I had. But you just want to believe. And look, I still am quite hopeful that there is fairies in the world. So it's a really beautiful book about slipping back into childhood imaginary play, but also maybe considering the possibility that it is real. The Land of Ruhr is fabulous. It's a little bit scary in parts, but it's suitable for readers from like, I don't know, 8, 9 to 12. It's beautiful. And then my final book is one that I've been recommending and using at school for a couple of weeks now. It's called A Velocity of Being, Letters to a Young Reader. It was actually written to help benefit the New York Public Library system. So it is American. Look how hefty it is. It's really beautiful. Now, we do this thing at school called mindful reading, which, look, basically is rebranded silent reading. But to start our mindful reading times, we have been, last year we were doing like a mindfulness brain training activity where we had the students lie down and listen to the teacher or me as the teacher librarian reading like a mindfulness script to train their brains to just concentrate on the moment and on reading. What we are doing this term is we're actually reading a letter, one of these letters to a reader. And as you can see, I've highlighted the ones which are appropriate, because some of them are more, well, they're not adult at all, actually, they're fine. But I highlighted the ones I thought were relevant. And what we are doing is we're asking our students to lie down while we read them a letter to a young reader, and then we go into a period of mindful reading where we read for about 20 minutes, just focusing on the book and nothing else. So there's letters from Jane Goodall, Jacqueline Woodson, Neil Gaiman, Amanda Palmer, Elizabeth Gilbert, a 98-year-old Holocaust survivor, Italy's first women in space, other writers, scientists, philosophers, artists, and inspiring humans. And each one has an illustration by somebody different. I really have enjoyed sharing this book with our students at school, and the teachers have really enjoyed reading the letters, and they have, in the mindful reading time, often gone on to read many more of the letters, and quite a few teachers have gone and purchased their own copies of this book. It's obviously a really beautiful coffee table book as well, but it's just nice to read letters from famous people and about how reading has inspired them and why they think you should read. This one here says, "My dear future friend, I will probably never know you. We may not ever walk this earth at the same moment, but listen carefully. Books saved my life. In the stillness of reading, the silence save for the sandpapery sound of my fingers turning the page, I was born. In the quiet of a summer afternoon spent in a hammock of a winter night, spent sneaking under the covers with a flashlight, dawned the awareness, slow but unmistakable, that I was not alone, that I was not insane, that my heart was not so different from everyone else's. Books made me feel less ashamed, less weird, less different. They connected me deeply to my own humanity. Books did this for me," and so it goes on. They're just really beautiful. And then I think it's a really nice, we haven't done it at school yet, but I am hopeful of getting my older students to write a letter to our younger students at school, sort of a dear reader type letter as well. All right, I think that's my 5 books. That seemed to go very fast today. I'm probably talking fast because I've got to get into the car as soon as I'm finished this and drive off to Brisbane Square Library to meet Rebecca Sparrow and Frances Whiting. And I have to also drop my children to the neighbour's house because they are looking after my children. So thank you to everybody who has supported me throughout Book Week this year, from my family to friends who've helped with the girls to also my girls themselves. They've been actually really good. I didn't even bribe them this year with a prize at the end of Book Week if they behave themselves. My 11-year-old's gotten up every morning and made me a really good coffee, and it's been fine. I have eaten my body weight and then both of my children's body weight in chocolate. Like I just have not stopped eating. I actually stopped at the chocolate factory down the road yesterday and bought a block of matcha. They have this matcha green tea chocolate, and I don't even know why I stopped. I shouldn't have even parked. Bought the block of chocolate. I just sat in the car and ate the entire block of chocolate and then thought, oh, I feel so sick. I don't know why I do that, and yet I do, and I continue to do that. Anyway, as I said, I both love and loathe Book Week, but mostly I love it, and I think it's a really important week. I hope that you've had a really nice Book Week, and I will speak to you again next Friday.